Okay, today we're rebuilding a transmission out of, a transfer case out of a '07 Cadillac SRX. This is a Borg Warner 4479 transfer case. It's a pretty simple laid out transfer case, but there's no videos at this time on rebuilding this thing, so I'm going to show you a couple things we found out rebuilding it. And what this thing came in for is a very common problem. The chain gets really loose, and when you accelerate, it ratchets around the sprockets. It's like riding a bike that's changed gears on. When you change the gears, you get that ratcheting kind of sound sometimes if you don't change the gears right. So that's what this was doing, and what it is, the chain gets loose, it slips around the sprockets. So we tore it down and put a new chain and sprockets in it. This is the old chain right here, came out, and the old sprockets. And the chains just get stretched out and these things slip around the sprockets. So let me show you a few things. Of course, we put new seals in it too. I'm going to show you a few things we found out on the tear down and on the reassembly. Okay, on the front of the transfer case, it's held together with Torx head bolts. They're T40s, and I think there's 16 of these things. If I counted these holes right, there's 16 of them. And actually 17, I believe. There's one right here. Now be careful, because one of these bolts is hit underneath the gasket. So make sure you get all those things out of there. There's 16 around the case, and I think one right here to make it 17. And I think there's one buried down here too. So make sure you get all the bolts out before you start splitting it apart. Alright, once you get it apart, you'll set it on the bench, and basically it comes apart like this right here. Back case lifts off like that, and you get down to your sprocket, your chain, and your gear set. Alright, this right here is a pretty decent breakdown I found online. It shows the assembly and reassembly of it right there. Alright, once you get the cases off, you'll give us a little love tap right here, and then as you do that, you pull up on this, and you get your gear set out of the way. Okay. Now, to get your chain off of it, the next thing you want to do is get your filter out of the way. Take this Torx head of bolts out right there, and get this filter assembly right here. Get that out of your way so you don't mess it up when you're trying to disassemble it. Alright, now I'm not going to tear this thing apart because I already did it, but I'm going to tell you, the next thing you do is you put this on a press and support it real good and press out this shaft. Press it out that way, towards the rear of the car. And once you press that out, so once you press this shaft out, then you can lift this piece, which is this right here. You just lift that right off of there, or that comes out of there, and then it gets your chain off. So the shaft is out of the way, the sprocket slides to the side, and you get that out of the way. Then you got to deal with this sprocket right here. Alright, so your shaft's out of the way, this sprocket's out of the way, your chain is off. This sprocket right here, this thing is tight. So you're going to have to use a bearing splitter, grab it underneath the sprocket, which is basically this thing right here. You grab it underneath the sprocket, and then you pull it off with a bearing puller to get that sucker off. And going back on with it, you got to kind of put it in a press, support it right here, and press it back on. And then you go ahead and blow your chain, and then you put your sprocket in place, and you press your shaft back in right here. And when you put your chain on, make sure you got these two blue marks on your chain facing up. That's the way the old one came apart. So this is the way we pull the sprocket off. We use our bearing splitter, and we use an old proto gear puller, which is really great, man. I've had this for years. Just kind of grab your bearing splitter and then run your thing down into your center right there, which will be in the shaft, and it pulls right out of there, and then you press it back on. Alright, one thing I want to show you on this gear set that sits right here, once you get this off, this gear comes out, and there's a washer underneath that right there, it goes in there. But the thing you have to remember, on the other side, this gear of course comes out, and the only way you get this thing back in there is you have to line up these dots on the gear set. See these dots right here, if you can see them? and you put them all in the same spot, like you put them all at 12 o'clock. And they all have to be at 12 o'clock, and then this gear will slide in, and then the one on the front or the back of the T-case will slide in. If you don't have all 4 of these dots lined up, the gears, this gear, one of them will go in, but the other one won't. To get them both in, all 4 dots have to be at the 12 o'clock position, as you can see them right here. All right, to change your axle seals, there is a, once you get your sprocket off right here, there's a snap ring underneath there. You take that off and push this out, get your axle seal in. And there's also a snap ring right here for the output shaft. Down inside of here, you take that snap ring off, down right here, pull that off, pull your shaft out. You can change your bearings and your axles and your seals in. Okay, I remember now we had actually used a proto puller to pull the front gear set off of this thing, and we had to tap it back on because those splines are really tight too. Alright, at this point I just flat file my surfaces right here, put a nice bead of silicone around it, and stick my case back on there, and then I bolt it all down and torque the bolts and fold up the lubricant, put the plugs in, and install it back in the car. Okay. This is what it looks like from the other side. That's the filter assembly I was talking about. Alright, so there you go. So thanks for watching, and like, subscribe, and have a blessed day. Borg Warner 4479 T-case and an 07 Cadillac SRX. And I'll show you the breakdown one more time here before I go. All right, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and have a blessed day.